Okay, are we ready to go?
Ready, yeah. Yalla, yalla.
Welcome to Live from the Table, the official podcast for the world-famous Comedy Cellar. I'm Periel, the producer of the show. I'm here, of course, with the host of the show, Noam Dwarman, the owner of the world-famous Comedy Cellar, and Hatem Al-Gaber, who is the host of Live
Can
from...
you say your name properly? We're trying to say...
Gabr.
Yeah, Gab.
Yeah, thank you, though, for trying.
Go ahead, Periel.
You want to do this? The host of Live from America podcast and our very dear friend. And our guest today is Moumen Al-Natour, a lawyer from Gaza. He's the founder of the 2019 We Want to Live movement, a former political prisoner of Hamas, and the president of the Palestinian Youth for Development. He is also the author of the recent column from the Wall Street Journal, Free Gaza's Palestinians from Hamas. And he's joining us today from the Gaza Strip. Thank you very much for joining us. And we also have Ahed Al-Hindi, who is an economist by training. He is going to be translating for us today. And he also devised a program for Syrian artists to use 3D modeling techniques to build prosthetics for their children, for fellow citizens, who had been wounded in the war. He's an active voice for Arab development and reform and a frequent guest on pan-Arab satellite channels. Thank you very much for joining us as well.
Welcome to both of you. We really appreciate you guys coming on the show to discuss this most serious of topics we don't often get to hear or almost ever. I can't remember, actually speak to somebody who's in Gaza who can tell us firsthand what's going on. Moumen, let me just ask you, do you speak, do you understand my English generally, or does everything have to go through the translation?
هو انت عم تفهم عليه كل شيء ولا فيك تحكي دغري؟
لا لازم مترجم.
He needs translator.
Yeah, but he understands a little bit, right? So
yes,
just from my own
yes.
perception of what's going on. Okay, so before we get into the specifics, of course, whenever we interview somebody Palestinian or Arabic who is going to take a position that is considered controversial, people will always immediately wonder about him. What are his political views? Where is he coming from? So let me just ask, as a matter of background, Moumen, what were your general views about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict prior to October 7th? Were you a believer in a two-state solution, river to the sea, whatever it is? Tell us a little bit.
مؤمن أول شيء كل مرة نحن بنقابل فيها.
هو نقاش الحلول الكبرى.
So before October 7th, we did not discuss these greater issues about greater solution. But me, on a personal level, I believed in a two-state solution or a one-state solution where Israeli Jews and Arabs can live together side by side.
One or the other, either a two-state solution or
yes,
one. Yeah.
Or one.
And also, can you tell us a little bit about what was life like in Gaza before October 7th? We've heard about an open-air prison, a concentration camp, food insecurity. In America, we don't really know what we were supposed to believe and what we're not to believe. So give us an overview of the average Palestinian's life in Gaza before October 7th.
بأمريكا ما بنعرف كثير عن كيف كانت الوضع في غزة قبل 7 أكتوبر. في عالم تقول إنه كان معسكر. When we talk about food and security in general, it was everything was available, food and drink. But when you talk about the unemployment, it was very high, and that due to the fact that most of the job opportunities in Gaza were taken by people who are connected to Hamas, and also all the money of aids and grants that used to come to Gaza. The first beneficiaries were people who are Hamas and people who are close to Hamas.
A few more questions.
إذا كان المقصود بالأمن كان المقصود بالأمن هو الأمن العام في البلد.
Hamas provide security and stability for their supporters, but when you come and criticize Hamas from outside, you will be persecuted. Me personally, on a personal level, I was jailed and tortured for over more than 20 times by Hamas just for expressing my thought.
We're going to ask about that. Just one or two more, just as the background. Israel had a very harsh blockade of Gaza, goods going in and out, people going in and out. Was the perception of the average Gazan that this was a kind of Israeli sadism or cruelty, or was there do they recognize, or do you recognize that in some way this was a response to Hamas rockets and things like that? Where do they a lot blame to one, the other, or both?
إسرائيل تطبق خناق قوي على most of the people, the overwhelming population in Gaza, they care about their own interest, like the freedom to move, freedom to go from area to area without have to pay a bribery for people on the border crossing. While for me, I used to think that the political situation is the reflection of the bad situation that the people are suffering from. All the tension between Hamas and Israel, all the military offensive between Hamas and Israel has influenced heavily the situation of the people and the freedom of movement of goods and people inside Gaza Strip. Before October 7th, when the political situation was calm, many workers from Gaza, they were able to go to Israel and work in Israel. And that really helped a lot to revive the economy and bring more opportunities and more money to Gaza.
What is the Israeli policy that you think is the most unwise?
برأيك إيش هي السياسة الإسرائيلية So the unwise policy, the most unwise policy is that treating Gaza, that all Gaza is Hamas, and treating Hamas as it is Gaza. In Gaza, the people are pretty diverse. There are those who are leftist, liberals. There are people who are supporters of Fatah, who are people who are like me, not politically a member of any party. There are people who really love peace and want peace with all countries, including Israel. So you cannot treat everybody with the same rigid behavior that Israel does. This is why I called from early January 2024 for safe zones in Gaza where civilians can go and leave and be separated from Hamas.
So we're almost to the present. On October 7th, we saw video. For instance, they had this young Israeli, Shani Luke, on the back of a pickup truck. And we saw video of the people in the town coming out and cheering. And I think this is along the lines of what he was saying. Is that an inaccurate perception of how people felt? Was behind closed doors? Were people feeling the opposite way? Help us to interpret as Americans what we're seeing in the news.
نحن كأمريكان يوم شفنا الأخبار ب7 أكتوبر. How many people did you see in this video? 10, 100, 1,000? There are 2 million Gazans that were leaving and sleeping in their house like I was. At 6 a.m. I was sleeping in my house, and then I heard the sounds and I thought it's probably some rocket trials, or it's probably Israelis doing some sort of small military incursion. Most of Gazans were like me. A lot of them, they even sleep late during the day because there is no work in Gaza, no job opportunities. So we're not aware. You cannot be judging all Gazans by what tens or hundreds have done. And I think that the propaganda of Hamas was able to fool all the American media and fool all the Western media to believe that all Gazans are praising and are celebrating what Hamas did.
Yeah, just to tell him, I'm trying to ask the questions in a neutral way, and he shouldn't interpret it, as my accusation.
Oh, no, he understands. He's used to that.
Okay.
عم بيقول هو عم بيحكي لك مش رأيه، عم بيحكي لك إنه بشكل حيادي، فقلت له أنت متعود على هيك شيء عادي.
Now tell us. Let's get to the war. Well, just as a general question. Well, actually, no. Sorry. So when the war began, we noticed that Hamas, or it was reported in the American papers that Hamas told the citizens to stay in place rather than to evacuate to a place where they might be safer. Is that true? And what would be the consequences of trying to evacuate for the Palestinians?
أول ما بلشت الحرب سمعنا بالإعلام الأمريكي مثل ما تم
صحيح
That's true. I saw this personally. I used to live in area Al Shati, which translates as beach in Gaza. And when the October 7th happened, everything became like a tornado. I was walking in the street and then I saw one of Al Qassam Brigade members, security, and he told us, advised us to stay in our house. And he said that these areas are very safe and there is nothing to scare you. But from watching the Israeli media, from understanding the situation and the consequences that could happen because of the crime of October 7th, I decided to flee and I went to the areas that was announced as safe by the IDF.
Yeah. Can I ask a couple of questions just quick? Moumen, I hope you stay safe and hope your family is okay. Can you tell us about, one, the breakdown of the Gaza society? Because the understanding here that Hamas controlled everything. So what's the percentage of Hamas? How much power do they really have in controlling everything? Is it a dictatorship that you can't go or do anything without them saying? And that's one. And the other thing that a lot of accusation that here that they were elected.
Ask it one at a time because it's translated.
It's the same, yeah. Yeah. And the second one that they were elected.
مؤمن أول شيء بتمنى إنه أنت وعيلتك تكونوا على خير. بدي أسأل. I don't really have an exact figures, but as if we look at before the war, Hamas used to have as foot soldiers and people who work on the government about 70,000, and if we add to them their family members, we are speaking probably about 250,000 of Gazans. And as we said before, Gaza is more than 2 million. Fatah has a lot of support inside Gaza, also the left, and also people who were born in the 90s. Just like me, we did not see ourselves fitting in any of these traditional political groups. So I created my own movement, and there are thousands of people who are on the same side with me, and they don't see themselves fitting in any of the revolutionary movements that exist in Gaza. And now the second part about the election.
Yes.
السؤال الثاني أنت تقول بأن حماس
Hamas, people say, won the election. That's true, but it was a general election where people all over Gaza and also the West Bank, they voted. And in some areas they won, in some areas they lost. But what happened is that during that period of time, Hamas was able to recruit before a lot of foot soldiers, people with arms, that they were able to carry a coup d'etat in 2 days and topple the Palestinian authorities there. But during the election back then, inside the Gaza Strip, in Khan Yunis, Fatah got more votes. In Jabalia, Fatah got more votes. But what made Hamas able to control every single thing in an absolute way was the coup d'etat that they carried.
By Iran, he said as well, yeah.
With the help of foreign countries, including Iran. He named Iran.
I have 2 more questions about the war, and then I want to spend the rest of the time talking about Moumen and his own personal story, just because, just to say, in America, we have no access to information that we can trust. So, for instance, on Twitter, we see both pictures of what looks to be people starving, struggling to eat, and at the same time, on the same day, you'll see a picture of a video of a restaurant with food and pizza and people looking to be doing well, and we don't know what's true. So, what, at its worst, how has the food situation been for everyday people during this war?
بأمريكا ما عندنا مصادر فعلا دائما موثوقة يعني عدة مصادر. During the beginning of the war after January 2024, people in the north, they decided not to move. They stayed in the north. They were not used to the war as much as we did, and for a period of time they had no food in the north. And if there are food, it was really expensive. Like you would buy a bag of flour of bread. That is enough only for a week in $1,500. And and then later we start to see more products in the market when Hamas was controlling the aids. Hamas used to resell the aid. We could go to the market and buy some of the products, but it was really not affordable. And also, as to speak about opening restaurants and coffee shops, that happened. And as you know, war profiteers always can accumulate money and open restaurants, but who can go there? Like me personally, I cannot go and pay the fees for these restaurants and coffee shops.
Was he going hungry at various times?
هل جعت أنت خلال الحرب؟ هل في فترات جعت؟ أو خف وزنك مثلا شو؟ Yes, at a period of time for sure I got really hungry and I lost weight. I was at a period of time 65 kilograms. Now I'm much better, and I think the when that period of time stopped the starvation, we got better, and now but my situation is much better.
He knows people who starved to death?
تعرف حدا مات من الجوع؟ شخصيا؟
لا شخصيا لا.
No, personally no.
شخصيا لا.
And last question about the war, and that's it.
آخر سؤال على الحرب.
In general, what is this? Moumen, what your feelings about the way Israel conducted the war? So many people died. Some of these people you will blame Israel for. Some of these people you will blame Hamas for. Some of the people you may think their lives could have been avoided if Israel had more responsible ways of fighting. What's your overall view of Israel's conduct?
شو رأيك بشكل عام بالممارسة الإسرائيلية بهذه الحرب؟ يعني شو هو شعورك؟ في عالم بتقول إنه Okay. It's of course it's a bloody war. What happened in October 7 was really brutal, and I was against it from the first day it happened. But Israel should have created safe zones where civilians can go and have access to aids and medication and security. And those who want to travel, they can travel. It's better than getting Hamas to blend with the civilians. The Israelis told us to go to Mawasi area. I went to Mawasi area. When I arrived there, I saw Hamas arriving there before me. There were Hamas members there. And right away we feel, where can we go? We go to a coffee shop to use the internet connection. You see a Hamas member sitting next to you. So they should have created clean areas where people who are vetted, who are not Hamas, can go and live in peace there, rather than putting all of these civilians' casualty under an asymmetric war, where all of this high number of casualty of civilians happen.
Is vetting possible? Is it possible to identify a Hamas member?
ليش هالإمكانية تقدر تعرف مين حماس ومين مش حماس؟ تقدر تفحص العالم يعني أمام الأعداد الهائلة من المهاجرين؟
سلاح بيكون جالس معه سلاح مسدس شخصي أو معه كلاشينكوف بلثمة، فبإمكانك تمييزه بالتأكيد، لكن هو بيدخل من المدنيين ليحتمي بالمدنيين. فكان من الأفضل كونه إنه إسرائيل تعرف حجة أو تقول دائما الحجة حماس.
كيف بدك تعرف؟ بيقول هو إنه كيف بدك أنت تتأكد إنه العالم اللي عم تروح هاي المناطق مش حماس؟
بالتأكيد.
We distinguish Hamas members from weapons. They are carrying weapons, handguns on their shoulders and on their waist, and also the way they look, they dress up. And then I clarified to him that you're asking about the vetting. How would Israel know that people who go to this area are Hamas or not? He said there should be a way to work with local police where you check on every name that goes in, and Israel know all the name of Hamas members. They know all the employees of the government of Gaza who are known as Hamas members. So this could have been created where you don't allow Hamas to go to these areas and you deal with Hamas by yourself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You had a question, then we're going to
go. Yeah, last question for the war. Thank you. I agree with you, and I think that they know. My question was, part of it you answered, but the human shield part, so there's a lot of misconception about the human shield. Is it Hamas using people, or is it like you said, are the people working with Hamas or Hamas forcing people not to leave and they have to stay there to secure the Hamas stuff, or the people don't know that there's Hamas tunnels or anything like that there, and they just live in? Like, what's your clarification of the human shield part of the war?
مؤمن حول الدروع البشرية سياسة الدروع البشرية اللي بتستخدمها حماس. Yes, for example, there could be a tunnel under your house and you are not aware that there is a tunnel under your house. And in instances where civilians goes during the war to hospitals and schools, one of the incidents of Al-Shifa hospitals where it had civilians for sure. Hamas locked the door. They did not allow the civilians to leave under justification that we don't want you to leak information or secrets about our operation because Hamas is in Al-Shifa hospital, and the civilians could not leave Al-Shifa hospital till the Israeli army they conducted a operation and attacked Al-Shifa hospital, and then civilians were able to leave.
Oh, this is so fascinating. I just can't, I have a million questions. Did he see Israeli soldiers committing war crimes?
هل شفت جنود إسرائيليين عم بيرتكبوا جرائم حرب بعينك؟ هل شفت جنود
لا
إسرائيل؟
لا، أنا من بداية الحرب كنت أنزح على المناطق.
On a personal level, I did not see. I always left two areas
أنا من
when
بداية
the Israeli
الحرب كنت
army used
أنزح
to
على
announce that
المناطق
these areas civilians should go
بفضل
there.
ظهور الجيش
So I would not
الإسرائيلي.
see the Israeli army
بعيني ما شفت
in
أي
my eyes, and so I
جريمة.
did not see them
بسمع
committing crimes.
بسمع من
I
الناس
heard some
مشاهدات
stories, and I
شو
think
كان يصير معهم.
it happens, stories that happens in
مؤكد
an area like
في
this, in a
حروب
war
بتصير
areas.
اختراقات
But
بتصير
yes, I heard stories I
مشاكل
did not see in my eyes.
لكن
All right, you said in parallels that you've been tortured many times by Hamas over many years. So tell us now, and maybe you want to take it in small pieces so you can remember what he's saying for the translation. Tell us about your background, what you've been fighting for, why you were tortured, why didn't they kill you? Give us an overall view.
حكينا شوي مشان أنا أقدر أترجم. حكي لنا أنت قلت إنك
اوكي. بدايتي كانت قبل حراك بدنا
So
نعيش
before
كمقاومة
I started the
مقاومة
movement,
تحسين
We Want to Live movement inside
بعد
Gaza, I
ما
used to write posts
وجدت نفسي
about
على
Gaza and
السوشيال ميديا
criticizing the
قررت
authority
انه
there. And then as a result
اعمل
and seeing
فعالية
the
مقاومة قومية
interaction from the people, I created
وقررت
a
انشاء
movement
تجمع سلمي
that
يطالب
carry
بالحقوق
on this
المدنية
goal.
للمواطن.
كمل يا مؤمن.
قررنا نعمل حراك بدنا نعيش في 14
We started then in March 14, 2019. I co-founded a group, We Want to Live movement, and Hamas was pretty aggressive. Reaction of Hamas was really aggressive. They were looking for me to arrest me in the streets. I was lucky that they had an old photo of me, and a photo when I was like in the early 20s. And I changed back then, and they could not arrest me from the street. Okay. كمل مؤمن. Okay, so then they could not get me. They kidnapped my brother and tortured him. They want him to tell my whereabouts, and then they communicated with me, and I had to surrender myself. They gave me an option that either we keep your brother here, torturing him, or you surrender yourself, and I had to surrender myself. So I was promised from them that they would not torture me, and they said that just a simple interrogation, and we'll interrogate you, and then you'll go home. When I was sure that my brother went home, I went to the security apparatus. It was a horrible experience. They tortured me. They hanged me from my hands, handcuffing me, beating me, and sometimes they would hang me from my legs. They stripped me from my clothes and put cold water on me, and they started to lash me. I could have lost my life at any time. As usual, they betrayed their promises. Okay. So advocacy campaign at that stage used to be helpful. Many organizations, including the Red Cross, were aware about my arrest, and they started to speak about it, and they were aware that I was kidnapped by Hamas. This would really protected me. I mean, they could torture me, yes, but they would not kill me at that stage.
عشت أكثر من 20 مرة اعتقال.
So more than about 20 incidents where I was tortured by them. They could have been killed at any moment during the torture. But deeply in my heart, I was aware. I know always that they're going to torture me. We're used to that. But deep in my heart, I was aware and know that they would not kill me. As a person who was a graduate, a lawyer, And at the same time, during a peacetime, Hamas did not want to commit such a stupid mistake.
في فترة الحرب ازداد نشاط.
Now it's the different situation. Now I'm sure if Hamas catch me, they would shoot me in the head. After the war, I increased my activities, being anti-Hamas. At that stage, I was in Beit Lahia, where many countries did not dare to condemn October 7th. I condemned October 7th from inside Gaza. And I've been trying to hide from Hamas since that date. I was engaged in many activities with organizations like CPC, Center for Peace Communications, and others inside Gaza. But 3 months ago, my house was raided by Hamas, and they wanted to arrest me this time. And I ran away from home, and I'm hiding in a place since then. Again, if they catch me now, I'm 100%. I know now for sure, I'm very certain that they are almost about to be defeated. But even when they are really defeated, if they catch me, man, now they would not stop until they put a bullet in my head.
What it would seem that a lone person or part of a small organization would be facing something obviously insurmountable by trying to organize against Hamas, and then knowing that you're going to be caught and tortured. What motivated him? Why did he think he would accomplish this? What fueled such bravery? You understand the question? Like, how could he imagine? How could he imagine that what he was going to go through could be worth what he was going to pay for it?
يعني أنت كفرد أو كمجموعة أفراد بضل ضعيف أمام مجابهة مؤسسة كبيرة مثل حماس. فهي شو الشجاعة أو شو هو الشيء اللي خلاك. I was a young innocent boy at that stage, and I did not really know much about politics. I wanted to work, and I wanted my other friends to work, and this is how I dealt with it. And even in a prison, when I organized a demonstration, I thought about it from a legal perspective. According to the law that I studied, you can organize a demonstration and you can go into the street. And if Hamas met our demands back then, all of us would go home and everything could have finished. But Hamas is the one who escalated. And they have got me from a place where I was calling for simple rights to a person who is heavily engaged in opposing them and talking about peace between Palestinians and Israeli. So it's the stupidity of Hamas, how they dealt with all of their opponents. So we moved from being activists to being their enemies.
I debate this a lot, and I say that the majority of the Palestinian people in Gaza want peace and against Hamas, not the minority. Can you give us numbers if it's actually the majority of the Palestinian people or the minority?
هل غالبية الشعب الفلسطيني هو فعلا بده يعني سلام مع حماس؟ هو برأيه إنه الغالبية بدها مش الأقلية. So now majority of people, after they saw the adventure of Hamas, what happened to them, they are really against Hamas. Even the supporter, people who used to support Hamas. I'm not speaking about the members of Hamas. There are members and there are supporters. These supporters even of Hamas, they want Hamas to exit the scene and leave Gaza, and they want a sustainable peace. They don't want a temporary peace. What's the point of peace if I want to build my house and then after 10 years it get destroyed? Now everybody come to this conclusion. We need a peace that lasts forever between us and between the Israelis.
So we're coming to the most recent Trump proposal of the peace plan. As I understand, Moumen, he's very optimistic about the peace plan. So can he tell us why he's optimistic and why he thinks it's going to work?
انت ليش متحمس وفقا لما اشرت له بالمقاله لخطه السلام؟ ليش برايك هي رح
شرق غزة
I think it's a good proposal, and I think now east of Gaza is totally cleaned from Hamas. We should announce these areas safe zones and get people to move to these areas and announce a technocrat government in that area where they manage food, aids, and I believe that all of us should move there because in this area now the situation is better. It's almost half of Gaza, and it's connected to aid and to the world. and you are far away from Hamas and its militia. And we can really work as Palestinians, and I personally I can work on that, where we can create our own government, and we already have mapped staffs, teacher, police, people from all backgrounds for the day after Hamas. And now it's happening in east of Gaza, and this is why I'm really excited to the Trump proposal. I think it's really worth to look at.
If his best hopes come true, would he say that the war was worth it, in the sense that only with this war could it have been accomplished, or does he believe it could have been accomplished in another way?
بسؤال برأيك أنت لو
هي الحرب لعنة يعني لا يمكن أن ندعم العنف والقتال.
Well, it's a curse. War is a curse. But to be honest, we cannot take Hamas from the scene without a war. And nobody can degrade Hamas and its arms and its capability without a war. Even no Arab countries, no Muslim countries was ready to engage in disarming Hamas. Even not the PA. The PA, they abandoned us for 18 years. So war is horrible, but sometimes it brings these results.
I'm going to discontinue. I'm going to let my friends ask the last few questions. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart how thankful I am to you for doing this interview. One of the disconnects psychologically that I notice is that for us in America, even though we care about the war and we follow the war, in some way, it's like watching a movie to us. That no matter how much empathy we have in our heart, we can't really imagine being there. We can't really imagine what people are going through. And this is something I struggle with. So to hear directly from someone who has experienced it is absolutely essential, I think, even though we can never understand it. So I just, and the bravery that you're describing and the reasonableness, I'm moved by, more reasonable about Israel than I would have thought. I don't know how to put it. When you're suffering, when you're hungry, it's very difficult to see the force that's responsible in anything but the worst of lights. So only, I think, a certain person is able to see above that at a more full picture. So in every sense, I want to thank you very, very much. You won't be able to translate this, I guess, but you can give him a gist of it, and then and I'll let afterwards you'll be able to send him what I said, and then Hatem and Periel might have a few final questions. But thank you.
Yeah.
شكرك شكر مطول هو، وبرجع بشرح لك اياه، بترجم لك اياه، بس انه بيقدر كل شيء عملته انت. وبالنسبه له انه انت يوم عم نشوف غزه، لانه هو بده يروح كامريكان قد ما كان عندهم تعاطف، بحسوا كانه عم يشوف فيلم فيديو، لانه انت بعد ما يخلص الفيلم ممكن بيروح التاثر، ما راح تكون مثل الشخص اللي عايش هناك. فهو بيثمن كل شيء عملته وكل خطواتك الشجاعه، وراح يتركنا مع البقيه ليسالوا بعض الاسئله.
I just have a couple more questions, but to Noam's point, I remember we interviewed one of the mothers of hostages, and for both to be of you in this situation,
that's right,
and to be such a human in a certain, she was talking about the Gazan like insane, and you talk about it. It's just like for us and for every person on Twitter and everybody that pity and fight, and they're not even shedding their blood on it, and you guys, her and you, to be able to do this, it's beyond. That's what humanity is. So it's incredible. My question is, one of the criticism we always get, that I think also, is the Palestinians don't have a leader. There's no leadership. Nobody's rising and say like, hey, let's take it. Let me do peace. Let's take it to the next level. Take any of the offers that we got before. So what's your thoughts on that? Why there's no Palestinian leadership, or we just don't know them?
كثير من الانتقادات اللي بنسمعها انه ما فيش قياده فلسطينيه،
يعني ما فيش نيلسون مانديلا، ما فيش
موجودين. يعني دليل ان انا بحكي معك اليوم كمان وجه جديد موجود على الساحه.
I would say that leaders, the time of leaders like Che Guevara and Mandela or Yasser Arafat has gone. Now you need more leaders with managerial skills in the Gaza, and you cannot see that in the PA or in any other groups. I think I wanted, as a person, I wanted the PA from the day one after October 7 to go publicly and condemn the terrorist attack that happened and call on the civilians to evacuate and take the leadership. Always kids, when they are in a situation like this, they need their father or mother. And the PA failed to be, as they claim, the father of the civilians. But look from different angle. Look at the youth leaders that emerged recently. I posted many op-eds, including a recent one just was published yesterday in the Washington Post. The White House retweeted the post. And I spoke exactly about this issue. I mean, like, there are new faces in Gaza from the new generation. The West people, they should talk to them. You're not going to get peace from these retired politicians, the old retired politicians in the Palestinian Authority.
Well, look, I hope someday soon there's peace, and maybe both of you can someday come to New York and we could sit down together and have some hummus and, as Hatem calls it, occupied Palestine salad. And I'm really moved by this. Before we go, I'll just turn it over to him to say, anything that he'd like to say that for Americans to hear his message, what he thinks is the most important thing that he would like everybody to hear said. And then we'll say.
عامل لك ان شاء الله شي نهار بنيجي كلياتنا سوا وبنجتمع بنيويورك وبناكل في سلطه، هم بيقولوا لها سلطه اسرائيليه، فهو بيقول بناكل سلطه الاراضي المحتله الفلسطينيه وبنجتمع كلياتنا مع بعض. بس اخر شيء بده يترك لك الكلمه انه اذا في شيء انت حابب تقوله قبل ما تروح.
اوكي، لو سلطه اسرائيليه كمان يعني مش ما فيش مشكله يعني. كله اكل.
I'm good with Israeli salad.
بالنسبه لي انا شخصيا بتوجه.
يا تفضل.
بالنسبه لي انا شخصيا بقول يعني بوجه رساله للامريكيين، الشعب الامريكي، الامه الامريكيه، للقياده الامريكيه برئاسه الرئيس دونالد ترامب وكونغرس الامريكي، كل الولايات المتحده الامريكيه. اقول لهم باننا في غزه نريد السلام. لدينا خطة قوية من أجل العمل ضمن إشراف مجلس السلام. نحتاج إلى أن نكون في حكومة تكنوقراط لتنفيذ أفكارنا. تحدثنا فيها كثيرا بيننا وبين أنفسنا، بيننا وبين مجتمعنا، بيننا وبين إعلاميين أو سياسيين كبار. نحتاج إلى أن نكون على الأرض ضمن إشراف مجلس السلام، أن ننشئ حكومة تكنوقراط. وأنا يعني أدعو إلى أن أكون شخص رئيسي في هذه الحكومة لتشكيلها ووضع الخطط على الأرض. لدينا الكثير من الكفاءات، نستطيع أن ننشئ، نستطيع أن نبني، نستطيع أن نصلح، نستطيع أن نغير فكر أيضا. نحتاج إلى أن يستمع إلينا الجميع، لا فقط أن ننشر المقالات أو نتحدث عبر الإعلام. نحتاج إلى أن نلتقي، نجتمع، نصحح على بعضنا، نستشير بعضنا. نحتاج إلى الكثير من هذا. فأنا أتمنى أن أراكم في نيويورك، وأرى أيضا القيادة الأمريكية، وأن نتحدث إلى السلطات التنفيذية والتشريعية من أجل ذلك. أتمنى ذلك أن يكون قريبا.
Okay, my message to the Congress, to the President Trump, to the American people, that we in Gaza want peace, and we have a plan for that. We want to have we're working now on a technocrat, a government of technocrats. We've done a lot of meetings on the ground with peoples, and I'm ready. Many people like me are ready that we can rebuild our homeland and change even the mentality of the people. But we want everyone to hear us. We don't want also to meet with media as I'm doing and writing, but also meet with leaderships to stress this out and speak about that.
Okay, well, thank you very much to both of you. How do I say goodbye in Arabic with a proper pronunciation?
مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.
Ma salama.
And by the way, this is the first time that I hear perfect translation. Usually they translate one thing in Arabic and one thing in Thank you very much.
Yeah, try my best. Thank you.
Please be safe. Please be safe. Bye bye.
خلي بالك من نفسك.
يلا باي باي.
شكرا. ربنا معك.
شكرا.
God
Bye.
bless you.
Bye bye.
Wow. That was great.
Oh, I didn't press record.
No, I got it.
So the only